Yes, I know. I know, I got you covered. I know, I've had him for a while. He's been my son. Isn't he the softest, cutest little dog? Maybe it's a girl. I think it's a girl.
I wonder what that would be. Yeah. Custom? Giraffe on a skateboard. Cool ass giraffe.
Yeah, we were in Seattle for the weekend.
Cause that's what he's still. I said, I'm like, I didn't even catch the signal. That's right. Oh, yeah, that's my favorite. No, I'm sure he is. Like it fits though. Cause you long like that. No doubt. It fits. No, I'm saying I got it pretty much memorized. That's what I'm saying. This is the easy part. About 5 years past it, we kind of went through that. Then to get to the point to get to the next one. That's all.
Whenever you're ready, you know. Okay.
Trey, you all ready? Yes, sir. Who's up, sis? What's up? Who's up, sis? What you want?
Okay, hold on a second while I make it visible to the world here.
Oh, you gonna okay? No.
Yeah. So see where they all get started. This where it starts. Go on the left.
You already be up here? Pharaoh.
Yeah.
You going first?
Yeah.
All right. There's Terry. What's up, Terry?
All right. You're in the right place.
You're in the right place, no doubt, no doubt. Right there, right here, immediate left, on your left. It should be a restroom sign on there. Right there, you just passed it. Yeah, there you go. All right, everybody, let's get started. Let's get started. Nah, I'm not waiting. Nah, I'm just hosting. I'm just up here introducing ourselves. Welcome to Bird and Beckett, a wonderful bookstore. You all know. I'm sure you all know better than I do. I'm just getting to know Eric. My name is B. Anthony Shepperd. I am a poet. I am a published author. I am a law-abiding citizen. I am a returning citizen. I'm a father, a grandfather, a husband. I'm just all those things. I'm a good friend, a super friend, depending on who you ask. But I'm just happy to be here. Ultimately, I'm happy to be here. In addition to that, in addition to everything I just said, I'm also a returning citizen. What that means is that I was formerly incarcerated. And so what this juncture is right here is 3 individuals, 3 different pathways, 3 different paths up the hill, all the way down the hill. Now we are here, and we are writing and presenting from a lived experience. So it's not to glamorize or glorify anything. It's just to highlight who we are, what got us where we were to where we are now, and that's what we're going to demonstrate tonight. I'm going to introduce Pharaoh first. Pharaoh Brooks, a good friend, former coworker, also somebody with great lived experience. I'll let him tell his own story. He's the expert of his own experiences. But he's a rapper. He's a poet. He's a soon-to-be author. And he's just an all-around swell fella. So I'm going to introduce Pharaoh. I'm going to bring him up to the stage now. Come on, Pharaoh. Hand round of applause. Thank you, big bro.
So, to get an opportunity to share my story, Let me set up the camera. To share my story and to be appreciated and to express yourself in a healthy way. I'm just really grateful. So, doing a life sentence and being found suitable, I've been telling my story at many different levels. So in this kind of setting, I like to invite people in to my experience. So I'm letting you inside of my journey. So just walk with me a little bit. This first one is called Nowadays. So I used to think this way, and now I think like this. Nowadays, I got a different approach. I used to argue, stand up and fight, don't take no crap but still take it, tell everybody how I'm gonna make it, rules break them, I get a chance, I snake them, then justify by telling you what they've taken. But nowadays, not so much. More or less, I'm on the hush-hush. I've taken that energy and applied it intimately into me. Once I figured out they didn't deserve the attention, I concentrated on solutions. And they are damn near not to be mentioned. And who are they? The henchmen, the ones responsible for the lynchings, the thieves, robbers, murderers, and rapists obsessed with self-hatred who put the value of $1 over every life they taken. I mean, the truth is so but naked. But still, nowadays, I connect hours, days, and shifted gear into a power phase, plus keep a smile on my face like smelling a flower fragrance. Because I choose to. Not that I pardoned or excuse you, but here's a snooze clue. See, my ancestors developed technology that cultivated the human being, seeing not only that which the eyes pick up, but also the eternal. Don't act like this doesn't concern you. We've all played the role of oppressor. Nowadays, I got a little more acceptance. I got a little more affection. My perception of perfection is in my reflection. The miseducation turned to counterintelligence. I now have found different suggestions more relevant. Actions speak so loud, I can't hear the proud. I move past to the here and now, nowadays. How can I expect you to understand when you's a pawn in the plan? Fall guy for the small fry. And if you didn't notice, mass shootings are now supersized and come with many injuries on the side. And you got the nerve to ask me how and why. I look so-called enemies in the eyes and witness their demise. Masters of the universe make anything they want materialize. And so do I, nowadays. So, going into the prison experience, this poem and the soon-to-come book, it was my therapy. So, to bring you in even closer, so I'm in high desert, and God or whatever entity that was here before anything that was spoke to me very clearly in a still small voice and said, keep writing. So I'm going through tribulations in this, and so I was being discouraged on so many different levels. So I began to write poetry. I always rapped, but I'm like, and when I switched to poetry, I wanted to have integrity about the process. I didn't want to be the rapper that was doing right. I wanted to let this be what this was. in its own existence, right? And I was serious about that. And so here is some of the things that I wrote during that experience. Honor turns to dishonor. How things change over a little change. Who's gained and lost friends over dividends? Humans will kill to be able to be stable. No fiction, no fable. Long money comes from good connections like cable. In this capitalist world, I'm a strategist thorough, avoiding material girls. Money isn't everything, but with enough of it, you can buy anything. Hours and days of contemplation just for dividends. Illegal or legal. Reasonable or unreasonable. Having currency and not having it is the difference in many instances between living and not living. Imagine going here and there with no air. No reason to pretend. At times I twinge and my well-being descends just because of my lack of dividends. So, writing about my experience. So, the first line is, don't you understand I overcame a life sentence? And most people don't. But when I wrote this, I was still in prison. So, I didn't get found suitable. I'm trying to think. I'm like, did I go to the board yet? I don't even know, right? But inside me, this is how I was speaking. Don't you understand I overcame a life sentence? Again, no, you don't really. I can handle anything in any of life's dimensions. Stabbed in the back, betrayal, being plotted on, treated unjustly ever since they cuffed me. Whether pigs, bitch niggas, or bitches, I ain't switching. Through many years of darkness, I saw light in the distance. Ready to fight in an instant. This comes in many layers. Physical, psychological, spirits is in the air. Battling yourself when you are your own worst enemy. Battling the powers that be since infancy. Words of a golden child, leave them frozen with a smile. We could do a couple laps, because I done ran 1,000 miles. That's it for that one. Yeah. So, while I was incarcerated, you know, you have that woman in your life. So this next one is me thinking about her while incarcerated. anticipation of the next time. Appreciation of the best of times. Memory of the last time simmering in the back of my mind. Maneuvering to the front at times. Can I be allowed to win? Can I see you again? My heart says I should be pursuing the opportunity. My pride says I shouldn't let her do this to me. This is a sincere question, not metaphorical or rhetorical. Can you and me make our mark historically? If this is the end, please don't pretend. Skip modest and be honest to a friend. When, if ever, can I see you again? Let's capture the atmosphere of prison. Sounds fun. You ready, guys? Yeah. If you're weak, then you're extinct. In tune with their animal instinct. Taking is the equivalent of making. Atrocities unbelievable, somehow conceivable. Bad odds are beatable. Speakable silence. Unspeakable violence. In the culture of the human vulture, care is rare like in a warring soldier. No reason to ponder. There is no honor. Persecution and scrutiny with each and every opportunity. Yes, yes. This is new to me. No one is a friend. Might be forced to turn on you in the end. Might pop up with a new face or a new name. Same game, but with the claim it's a new game. But really being two-faced. Hate in this place is in concentrate. To eventually hearts start to swelling. Ain't no telling what'll happen in a place surrounded by felons. I'm just telling you what was there. I didn't make it on. It's not my creation. Just wanted to bring you in a little bit. So you learn about humans during your prison experience. You get a firm grasp on human behavior. Yes. People you know in all your life and all the different characters that may exist. So this is my narration of what took place at this time in my life. classified a woman as the only one I ever loved. And when it's time to go to trial, she don't ever show up. Supposed to be my alibi. Now it's easier for me to fry. They made me pick a jury like, gotcha, nigga, surely. Yeah. And they got a nigga surely. It hurts when who you love on the streets treats you poorly. No, this ain't a story like poor me, pity for me. This is about soaring after raining, storming. Up early in the morning. Read, meditate, and work out. Touch every level of appeal. But they don't let it jerk out. The homies say I'm burnt out. I'm $1 million scheming. Some say I'm dreaming. Others can get the meaning. Vision, money, machining. And it's all legal too. Stepping out in the world, I won't be lacing up these prison boots again. I give a fuck about your life of sin, like the same amount of love I felt when I was in the pen. So, the people that you get out of prison with know you better than your family. It's a fraternity for the women, the sorority, to overcome unsurmountable odds together, because it was really us who we had. If I get any kind of solid information, it would be from us. So that's a unique experience, bonding and even understanding, especially when the reason we bonded is because I actually want what's best for you and I don't want anything from you. That's a relationship that most people outside of incarceration can't fully grasp. Where this relationship is not built on what I can benefit from you, but actually wanting the best for you. No, not where you from, not what you look like. I want the best for you because you are you and you are trying to make yourself better. So me returning back to society, I'm like, oh, y'all don't know what that's like, huh? That's obvious. So I had to kind of retrain my conditioning and expectations of humans and social interactions on a daily basis. And this one right here points to that resilience that is necessary, that perseverance that's required to do what me and the other brothers did. Despite many moons of night, increased prayers and evil stares, while during this plight, I'm still here. Through the years, in spite of fears, the bitter taste of an uncomfortable place, I look into the mirror and see I'm still here. Withering insides, flesh giving in 10 times, so reduced, still managing to produce. Digging inside of myself like a mind, and I find I'm still here. Not just here, but still. Persistent by will. In the rear or at my nadir. Discomfort increases, bewildered I feel, but I'm still here. Not by my own strength, not even a tenth. Being carried because most days not merry. This journey withstanding the length, I'm still here. Adapting and inappropriately reacting. Changing with the days rearranging. Moving forward with very little backing. I'm still here. Enough pain. Some might react insane. Forced into an unfamiliar dark forest with decreased sunshine and more rain. I'm still here. Seeing negativity vividly. Evil spirits, I see and hear them. They want to get rid of me. But I'm still here. Cut from a different cloth in the land of the lost. Environment chilled with frost. Hearts cold beyond the normal mold. Mine still warm within the frozen swarm. A voice whispers and I'm told, you're still here. That's the end of that one. Thank you for riding with me on that. It means everything. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
I think I'm going to end with, do I see it? I don't see that last page. So, my mother passed of breast cancer, rest in peace, 3 months prior to me committing a crime and getting arrested. So this was my letter to her. I could see you now looking down from heaven, shaking your head saying, what has this boy done now? Instead of frown, pray for me, moms. When you left, it affected me and neglected me. I actually felt better knowing your suffering was over. but it seems I inherited your pain. I fell fast like being dropped up out of a plane. If you were still here, I felt it wouldn't have happened. I miss you and I love you. And I want to be with you in that better place. I know now, all along, it was your prayers that kept me safe. Can you feel disappointment, even where you are? I realize now, you were the reason I shined as a star. I'm now in prison and Pops is upset. I apologize to you and him for all the tears wept. I cried myself. In my insides, I died to myself. I feel I should have given you more time while you were still alive. Maybe somehow I could have cherished you more if I knew your soul was soon to soar. Eventually, we got along in your last days, even though you knew I was living the fast way. You saw me on top before I dropped. Question: was I not trustworthy enough to handle the business dealings of your death? I was on the freeway when you breathed your last breath. I came home and you were gone. You know I would have done anything for you. I could have handled your business true. Stories about people stealing money, I didn't know what to do. I tried my best to keep the peace in order not to disrespect you. You better than me know what happened. I got my suspicions, and later on we could rap about it when I see you again. When that smile on your face I can see again. I remember the smile on your spiritless face at the funeral, telling me that I should know that you are in a better place. That left a better taste in my mouth after dealing with all the frustrations within the house. My guardian angel left me. Tell God I need another, even though you'll always be my one and only mother. Thank you.
All right, another round of applause for Pharaoh Brooks. Thank you, Pharaoh. All right, next person up to bat. I'm going to introduce Trey Xavier. Before I introduce Trey, I want to say this. Forced into Greatness is our title. It's our collective title. Trey came with this idea, this phenomenal name. That's not only the name of our poetry troupe, so to speak, but it's also the name of our forthcoming documentary. And it came organically. We were driving to Stanford. We were invited to Stanford. Imagine that. The three of us, formerly incarcerated, myself, Trey, and our friend Dwight Jones, by the way. Shout out to Dwight. We were driving to Stanford after being invited for a tour to brainstorm, to expound on different ideas. Trey was in the back seat. I was driving. Dwight was in the passenger seat. And we were just talking about how excited we were to be excited to be invited to Stanford, to be driving on the freeway to Stanford, I mean, of all places. And Trey had the wherewithal to pull out his phone and start recording. And that conversation morphed into so many different things. And now we're We're here standing in front of you all, your beautiful faces, your beautiful souls, and we are forced into greatness. So I'm asking you all to buckle up. The ride is going to be very eventful. It's going to be very adventurous, but it's going to be memorable. And this night will be one that we lock in our memory banks. So I say that to say, Trey, Xavier, come on up, big bro.
I don't know if I need them. I don't see. I'm playing by ear.
Let's raise that mic a bit before you.
Raise this one up.
Yeah, you want me to do that? I can do that.
Right here.
Oh, by the way, yeah, let's do it this way. Yeah. This way there. Should do it.
Okay. Force into greatness. You made me forget. We bought a chair that has stenciled on it. Force into greatness on the back of the director's chair. I forgot it. Sorry, guys. I just worked 18 hours, man. I worked 18 hours. This is how formerly incarcerated men do. You know what I mean? We're the best person you can hire. I just worked 18 hours. Had 2 hours of sleep, babe? Came here and I got to go back. When I leave here, I go back to work for another 18. Okay, so we're going to get this started right now. My name is Trey Xavier. That's my pen name. I write as the universe demands I write. And lately, the universe has been on my ass a lot. You know, I am formerly incarcerated as well. I like to say I started writing in prison, but it's not true. I've been writing my entire life. Prison only forced me to put it on paper. I had nothing else to do. My whole life is right here. Everything is written in my head. Now it's time to put it on paper. Everyone has a story. It's just the wherewithal and the discipline to put it on paper. I'm a novelist, a playwright. I've written dozens of plays and about 7 novels. That all of them have been published. One of them is right there, and right there, The Creation, Death, and Resurrection of Theodore C. Andrews III, loosely based on my life. In 1994, I received 44 years to life for a Long Beach bank robbery. It was a third strike. I always say no one was hurt, but that's not true. The more I got into groups, the more I started to understand, although there was no weapon involved or no one got hurt, I said no one got hurt, but over the years I learned that a lot of people were hurt. You know, there are a lot of trauma was experienced that day. You know, some people may not even like going into banks anymore. You know, some people, okay, that's okay. I realized that that the trauma that I caused was not only for those in the bank, but myself and my family. You know? When I got to prison, one of the first things, you know, when the judge said you got 44 years to life and you're already 35 or 36 years old, you're like, damn, they want me to, I can't get out till I'm 90 years old. So you go straight into survival mode. How do you outlive a life sentence? That sounds crazy, huh? So the first thing I do is go to the OGs. I find out. They tell me what they did. They've been down 30 and 40 years. Okay, they tell me how they made it. I go to meetings. NA helped a little. Religion helped a little. But nothing helped like my pen. When I realized how much power I had with my pen, it was over. I was able to flip yards with my pen. I was able to cross racial divides with my pen. I could bring people together with my pen. You know, I could make people cry with my pen. I can make you horny with my pen. I can make you fall in love with my pen. Once a guy asked me, he read one of my stories and begged me to tell him who Gina was. Gina was not real. Gina was a figment of my imagination. For 3 or 4 years, he asked me for Gina's number. He did. So when I came home, I was fortunate to write columns for a newspaper called the Bayview News. And it was the reason I was so fortunate is because that's one of the newspapers we read in prison. You know, it's one of the few newspapers that was given to us freely. And so for me to have a column in there called On the Streets and Making It Work, and knowing that all the brothers in prison were reading my column, felt really good. So my column always spoke to them, you know, and what they would expect, what they should expect coming home. Last week I spoke. Those you can have those, not the book, but those papers right there. Those are copies of the columns that 2 of the columns I went on archives and found them. And one of them I spoke on last week was something as simple as the rise of the cell phone. To most people, it's just happened. It just gradually happened in your life. For me, it didn't exist. And for it to exist when I came home was enough to make me throw it against the wall, stomp it. There are guys who still feel that way. I see them every day. I work with them every day. They want to actually, I had to grab a guy's hand from wanting to toss it against the wall and crack it. I talked about sleeping alone for almost 3 decades and how funny it feels to sleep with someone else. You know, those were some of the things that that were in that first article. Today, I want to talk about my second article. It was like, I'm going to tell you a story about a train ride I had. And this is how I started off this one. The other day, I was on the train headed to the university where I'm the oldest student. Was older than the professor at the time, still am. A young woman sat in front of me, texting so fast it mesmerized me. I hoped she wouldn't turn around and catch me staring over her shoulder like some old pervert. Anyhow, her texting performance made me think of David Blaine. Unbelievable. To me, this was unbelievable what she was doing. I don't know, it might be regular to some, but it was unbelievable to me. I mean, I was mesmerized looking at her. Now, this young woman was in her early 20s. So I thought to myself, she was probably practically born with a cell phone in her hand, a smartphone in her hand. And it would take me more time than I have left on this planet to learn how to do what she did, right? But this is the kicker. Wow, what a coincidence. What a coincidence I thought when I saw the same young woman come into my class and sit near me. She sat near me in class, and of course, she didn't recognize me, this old pervert who was looking over her shoulder for almost 30 minute train ride, looking over her shoulder. She didn't notice me. Why? Because rarely do people look up from their cell phones, even when walking through intersections and traffic, and they call themselves the woke generation. So this is what, when I came home, and I'm going to tell you about now, this was when I was in the halfway house, this experience with the young lady on the phone, and we were going to school, we're in the same class. I studied at San Francisco State University. And now a year later, I moved next to the university. It's where I live now. So at the time, my wife and I get married, we share one car, so I ride the scooter sometime to work. She drives the car sometime to work. I'm on the M train. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the M train. It takes you from Powell Street down to the university, but it goes through these like little alleyways once it's coming out from underground. Well, we're going through the little alleyways, and I see some sparks coming off the train, the rail of the train. I'm like, wow, sparks are flying off. Wow, that's unusual. So I look around, no one but me is noticing the sparks. So I'm feeling like maybe there's something wrong with me. You know, they're all looking at their phones. So I'm like, wow, they're all looking at their phones. We traveled through the alleyway and the sparks are still flying. Shh. Like, wow, this is crazy. They're still looking at their phones. The train stops. Now the train stops. Instinct is, for me, survival. Now, I don't care what they're doing now, right? Because the train stops, and this is not a train stop where it stops. I hit the button, get off the train. Do you know no one is looking up yet? The only person who is on the floor right now on the street is me and the conductor. The conductor and I are looking up at the train, where the fire was coming from. We're looking up at the fire, and he asked me, he said, what are they doing? I said, they're on their phone. So I called my wife. She remembers. I said, come pick me up here on Ocean and Eucalyptus, wherever I was. Come pick me up here. But the unawareness of that was amazing to me, how someone could be that unaware. So these are some of the culture shocks that are formerly incarcerated, especially if you've been away for about 3 decades. This is what we run into. Also, this is another part here I wrote in here. On your mark, get set. I'm speaking to my brothers, my comrades inside who I left behind. On your mark. Get ready, set, go. That's the imaginary cadence heard from the formerly incarcerated on the day of their liberation. Let the Hunger Games begin. Decades have passed since most of us have played. In my case, I have grandchildren who I have not met yet, nieces and nephews who were born while I was warehoused, and some of them have graduated from college and high school now. And all their lives, I have been merely a faded photograph on a mantle, wearing an outdated suit and hairstyle and a look of innocence. And for myself and my comrades, I let them know that it is our sisters and our mothers that keep us alive with the family. See, because I wonder, all the time I was bawling between that, why my mother had none of those pictures on the wall. She had me in my innocence. That's the only way I was remembered to all my family, in my innocence. Not with the cars and the girls and the jewelry, none of that. That's not. So, and I tell them that, I said, we have to continue to be very respectful and very grateful for our women, because I say this all the time, women are who help men get through prison more than men. You know, it's your sister, it's your mom, it's your aunt, you know, it's your wife. You know, the homeboys are cool if you can catch them. You know, if you can catch them, it's cool. If you catch your brother, it's cool. You know, but women, and when I relate that to the scripture, when you think about it, when Jesus died, who did he show himself first to? A woman. Who was at his feet? When his homeboys they left. Oh, I don't know him. No, I wasn't with him. But who was there with him all the time? Women at his feet. That's just something I always I honor and I think about. Now, here's another aspect of, I wouldn't say culture shock or realization. Why I'm reaching back and telling them, our former classmates, youngsters who always looked up to us, now own homes and new cars and are respected members of their communities and churches. Some whom I thought of as lames and squares have retired from the armed forces, are registered gun owners and voters. At the same time, I feel like Fred Flintstone, a prehistoric caricature of in a modern day world. When I first touched down, I felt I had something to prove. So much time had passed, and I realized as time passed on and I was out, I don't have anything to prove. I proved everything by being here, still here, as the brother said, being still here. I proved everything. So, and I do have a recognizable edge. I have something to offer. And of course, I don't have as many followers or likes as the young woman who was on the train speed texting on the train. Nevertheless, I know what it's like to have real relationships with people who have gone to battle with me side by side and don't even know my name. The only connections is the color of our skin or our regional location where we came from. So it's like, you heard the term, I met him over a cold bowl of cereal. That's real. That's real. I met him over a cold bowl of cereal. I don't even know him. We'll find out what happened when we get to the hole. But right now we're together. We're going to go together, whatever it is. So I've developed them kind of relationships with, I don't know how many people can really internalize that. Going to battle with someone you don't know, someone who is by your side to die with you, pretty much. You never met them before. Those are the kind of relationships that are not unheard of in other places other than prison. I have an edge. I like to say that I have an edge because I'm a graduate from the Hidden University, which is a class I started. I flipped a yard with that one right there. I started a class called the Hidden University because in my mind, prison does not have to be prison. Prison, your cell can be a dorm. Your cell can be what you make it to be. So that's where the concept, the Hidden University, came into fact. It went around different prisons, and I looked up one day, and other people had took hold to the book and the guidelines, and the Hidden University is still in existence in California state prisons right now. So when the brother, we went to Stanford University, I'm like, wow, this is full circle. From the Hidden University to Stanford University. Wow, what's something. I have an edge. I have an edge in these Hunger Games. My senses are so keen that that from a darkened cell, I've been known to be able to determine a CO's sex by the jingle of their keys as they're walking down the tier. My senses, I have an edge in these Hunger Games. I have an edge that civilians out here use loosely the woke term because Wikipedia is at a fingertip away. Well, I've read the paperback versions of The Art of War by Sun Tzu, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, and I have to apply them on a daily basis in order to live. So it's really real, for me. I have an edge because how many zealots do you know have read the Bible and Quran from cover to cover multiple times? I have an edge because there is no imam can send me anywhere with a bomb strapped to me or send me to an abortion clinic to kill anyone. I have an edge. I have an edge because I've overdosed on CNN, Fox News, PBS, 60 Minutes, Dateline, and the Discovery Channel. So when I go to drop my ballot, I won't make a historical make or I won't make I'll be coming from a position of knowledge. I won't be regurgitating miseducational talking points like the 3 strikes law that got me incarcerated, voting against my own well-being, because that's what the 3 strikes law did. When my nieces and nephews and grandchildren come to me and they're debating about their favorite rapper and the lyrical content or a beef that they're having, they'll say, let's go to Grandpa Trey. Let's go to G-Pop. He's cool. He's been to prison before. My first mission is to debunk the insane notion that going to prison is cool. It's cruel. It's cold. It's lonely. And secondarily, I tell them, rappers are entertainers. Most of them are like the WWF wrestlers. Most of them are made up characters who have stage conflicts. However, when they have no real referees, is why their conflicts become real and they end up in prison or dead. Now that I'm like those who, the civilians, the so-called free world, and I'm playing catch up, I don't have to play catch up anymore. The cars and everything will come organically, I should say. I like having conversations more than when I come up here. I like having conversations because I want you to know what you see on the streets and what I see on the streets. Because what I see on the streets when I came home was a bunch of crazy people talking to themselves before I realized what an earbud was. Seriously, those things may seem like just normal things to you guys, but they were very, very important. They were obstacles in my life. I want to tell you a story before I leave about how I flipped a yard with a pen. I went to this yard. They sent me to, now I'm like 20 years into my incarceration. And so now I get to go to a level 2. Many people don't get to go to level 2 with life sentences. I get to go to a level 2. You almost can walk away from a level 2. You can escape from a level 2. So that means they trust me so much that they put me on a level 2 prison. So I go to the level 2 prison. It's dorm living, which is a shock for me because I've been in a cell for so many years, 20 years at that time. And that's a white kid with me, young guy. Scooby was his name. Scooby says he plays guitar. I say, yeah, you do? Yeah, we play guitar. He's green. I know what's going to happen to him when he gets to the yard. I know that the Woods, they call themselves the Woods or the Skinhead. They're going to gaffle him up and try to pull him in. I know what's in store for Scooby. I try to tell him a little bit, hey, this, that, and the other, but he's green. So Scooby ends up in my dorm. I write. I do my plays. I do guerrilla, I call it guerrilla theater. We'll do a play. I'll write a play and convince enough guys to perform it on a basketball court. So that's guerrilla. That's guerrilla theater. What we call guerrilla theater. Anyway, so when I get to this yard, and he's in my dorm. I can play bass guitar a little. So I'm messing around with somebody's bass. Scooby comes over. He starts playing. Now, this is a no-no. First of all, he shouldn't be playing with me at all. So he's sitting at another table playing. I can hear what he's playing. He can hear what I'm playing. So I'm following him, right? So Scooby is so talented that, you know how rappers do freestyle? Scooby does that with his guitar. He'll look at you and start telling you, everybody in the audience, making jokes and things like that. So I got it. So when the time, about 3 or 4 months go past, I've already flipped the yard. I got all kind of programs going on, strongman contests, and I got what else we do the strongman contest. Oh, I had basketball 3-point shot contests. There's all the kind of thing going on, which they didn't have on this yard, right? So I put on a talent show. And some of the brothers that now work with me, still work with me, Boogie and Face, they were in this talent show. But anyway, I wanted Scooby to be in a talent show, but that's a no-no in prison. He can't. So I got to walk these laps, man. I walk these laps with these white dudes. Everybody's watching me. All the blacks like, what's wrong with Trey, man? I'm walking these laps with these skinheads. I say, look, man, y'all got to let him play, man. Please, let him play. Well, look, he can play, but he can't have nobody behind him. No black people can play no following instruments behind him. So he's just going to play by himself, man? Yeah, he can play by himself. Okay. That's what I got to go with. He got to play Scooby. So I got Scooby. Got a couple makes. So now, the talent show's on. It's getting down. Everybody's doing their thing. Pretty boy from Rolling 60s. He's pretty boy from bad guitar player, right? He's in the house band. So I call up Scoob. All right, I introduce Scoob. Now he's got his section over there. All the white dudes over here, black dudes here, Hispanics here. Scoob gets up and shreds the guitar. He shreds it. I start like crying, man. Like, what the fuck? He shreds the guitar. Now, the power in it is that when it's over, I let the audience choose who won. When I got to school, the blacks, the Mexicans, the whites, everybody was cheering. Now, in prison, you don't know how powerful that is. You don't know how powerful that. He won the contest. But it may seem like something small, but in prison, it was big. And at that prison, that's how I made my mark. Other than the time they wanted to get me off the yard because they said I wrote a play where a white man was going to hang a black man in for what was it, Black History Month. But it turned out to be a great play, and a lot of people were involved in Boogie, and they were involved in that one as well. But thank you for sharing with me, allowing me to share. And we'll be at Medicine for Nightmares Saturday, the 24th. Saturday, the 24th. And I'll be performing a part of my book. I've turned my book into a one-man play. So I'll be performing part of my book there. Thank you. All right. Oh, okay. All right, brother.
Always a pleasure. You know what it is.
You dropped your thing, you too. Everybody's dropping
Oh, you dropped yours?
Thank you. Another round of applause for Trey Xavier, please. All right. So this next performer, I don't know why y'all laughing, but it's good though. First and foremost, a lot has been said this evening about prison, and please understand that we are not glorifying our lifestyle, our former lifestyle, or what I like to call the anti-lifestyle of criminality and gang allegiance. That's not the case here. But in order for us to find solutions to the problems, we have to talk about them, and that's what we're doing about. So I'm doing it in a more poetic, more receptive way. All right. Background story. 1991, I was 16 years old. I was a very active gang member, very, very, very active gang member. So active, in fact, that I felt like that was the only career choice I had. And so I pursued it, and I pursued it with gusto and fervor and all of those wonderful words that we like to throw around. And so at 16 years old, I ended up in prison with a life sentence, 46 years to life, actually. And at that moment, whereas a lot of prisoners may have still had a semblance of hope, I had none. I was okay with it, because prior to prison, I was always told that I would die before I was 18, and I accepted that. I believed that. I pursued that. So for me to end up in prison, it was almost like a letdown, like I failed the test. When they said I had a life sentence, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just die in prison. Ultimately, I had no value on my life. I didn't know what love was. I didn't know what life meant. I didn't care. I just knew that the applause that I got from those that I thought were closest and dearest to me, my homeboys, my circle, my so-called friends, that's all I cared about. If I got the validation from them, if I got the pat on the back from them, to hell with everything else. So while I was in prison, I chased that same feeling. Thankfully, I was able to garner the energy to reclaim my hope. And that's not an easy thing to do. When you forfeit your hope, your imaginations just become bland. When you reclaim your hope, you see a spectrum of colors that you never saw before. And you start to play with those colors, and you start to enjoy those colors, and you start to really manifest things that you never thought you could manifest, and you put it on paper and you present it to people and they receive it, and that is the best validation that you can get. So that's what I'm doing this evening, if it's okay with you. Allow me, please, to be vulnerable. I'm gonna do my very best not to cry, because I got peers here, and this is being live streamed, so I can't lie and say it didn't happen.
Something was in your eye.
That part. So when I got out of prison, I've been out a little over 5 years now. I did 30 years. I went in when I was 16. I got out when I was 45-ish, just shy of 46. And I had no intention whatsoever of publishing a book. I had no intention whatsoever of standing here beneath the spotlight, exposing myself. I never, and forgive me for that usage of language, I just heard that, but exposing my soul. But as I began to share my stories and share my poems and share my thoughts with the people that I trusted the most, the feedback that I got was, I have to stop being so selfish and share this with other people. Because it's not just myself that struggles with PTSD. It's not just myself that struggles with anxiety or fear or insecurities. There's a whole nation of people. There's a whole population of people out there who struggle from one thing or another, and your writings can help them get through that. And so for someone who invested so much energy in destroying my community, I now have the opportunity to help restore multitudes of communities. And that's what I want to do in my writing. So I published a book when I got out. It's been out about a year now, maybe. Yeah, I think a year now. It's called Confessions of a Compassionate Felon. It's right here in front of you. Don't rush to stay. It's okay. It'll be there. There's extra copies. But what I want to perform tonight, I'm going to perform 5 poems tonight. I've never performed 5 poems before. But I'm going to perform 2 from the book, just to give you an idea of what I was going through when I was inside. And some of the poems or some of the stories inside the book, I wrote since I've been out. So it's kind of like introspective of the journey that I was on. But what I'm gonna perform for you tonight is something I wrote when I first got out, and it's similar to what Trey was saying. Like, I realized that people are cold now. You know, I mean, I guess in some ways the world always was cold, or to some extent it was always cold. But I think when you're young and you have a formed idea of what life should be, and you don't see that, then you create your own idea, your own definition of what it is. And so now I see it for what it should be, and it's not what it should be. So this one right here is called Who You Talking To? We don't even speak. All we seem to do is bicker with passion, mumble a couple colorful words, grunt and snort in passing. How we get here? We were once such an unstoppable force. Now we're just immovable objects, an illogical concept. Is it a lack of trust? Is it insecurity subtracting us? The devil masquerading as an angel of light distracting us? All I desired was to belong, to be strong, right or wrong. Am I deluded? The strongest drive in this intangible prison is to feel included. Yet somehow we dilute it. Our pursuits become perpetual pitfalls. There's no we in team, so I become the reason that it falls. In pieces, shattered fragments of could have and should have been, what would have been, if we had taken a moment and just been friends. Take a second. Think about who I wrote these words to. The nation, the races, or to you. All right. Yeah, so that was something I wrote in the book. And like I said, when I got out, it was similar to what Trey was saying. Everybody was so caught up in their phone and whoever was on the other side of that. And I was amazed too at the way the thumbs move. I still text like this. I still, I'm learning, but I'm there, so I'm keeping up. But that made me wonder, like, what happened to us? Like, we have so many more similarities than we do at differences. And yet we find a way to harp on the differences to make ourselves feel better than the next person. I'm sure there's something psychological there, so let's talk about that next time. Shout out to Terry. I forgot to, Terry, I love you, bro. Thank you for showing up. So the next one I'm gonna write, I wrote this while I was in prison, but there was a journey, there was a transformation when I was in prison. As I said, I was a very active gang member. And my only desire was to choose my day of dying in prison, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, let me break it down for you. So I refused to go out in a pine box by natural causes or by accidental death. I certainly wasn't gonna go out on suicide, but I felt that I was powerful enough to reclaim control over my life, if nothing else. I can decide the day that I die. If I had to go out there and make a suicide by cop, or if I had to go out there and be kamikaze in a prison riot or whatever, I had the opportunity, I had the control and the power in that moment to choose when I died. And that's all I cared about. So when I say I had no hope, that was the only hope that I dared have. Again, it's like imagination without colors. It's horrible. But as I began to change, I was blessed with the opportunity to give myself grace to change, give myself the opportunity to reclaim a little bit of hope and see what that feels like and go a little further if it was cool. And so I began to change. I began to transform. I began to metamorphose into something much greater. And so what I realized is the more I changed internally, I was still outside what everybody saw. The perception became their reality. So whatever they saw, the tattoos, the scars, the walk, the way I talk, I was still a threat to them, even though I was a docile doe inside. And so I wrote this, and it's called Am I Invisible? And I promise you, I'm going to try to get through this without crying. So it's called Am I Invisible? Am I invisible? Or is everybody blind? Can you not see me? Not the tattoos and battle scars, not the deformed, disfigured, and distorted image that you caught a glimpse of in passing through averted glances, staring through me as if you don't acknowledge me, I won't exist. Look at me, please. Please, ignored, denied, unheard. Am I invisible? Or is everybody blind? Would you just notice me? I'm no ghost or phantom, I'm real. Please don't be afraid. Can't you feel me? I'm right here. Am I invisible? Or are you blind? I'm as real as my mother's youngest son. My son's only father, as real as my grandbaby's pop. Am I invisible? When I smile at you, I get blank stares and answer. Are you blind? Is it fear? Am I the spook you see in your darkest dreams? And if so, is that my fault? I changed my walk. I changed my demeanor. Am I still the monster that you fear the most? Nah, because that means that you could see me. A rebel, a fool, a savage, a beast, a racist, a kidnapper, a murderer. Look, well, listen. I've been a gangster, a killer, a drug dealer, a crook. I've been brainwashed and programmed to hate and abhor the who's, what's, and where's. Not so much the why, but definitely, Yes, definitely the how. I hated my enemies. I hated each, any, and everything that kept me from moving forward, upward, and onward. Everything that kept me stagnant, from growing, from progressing, from loving, from learning, living, enjoying. I hated with a passion that which kept me from knowing happiness and kept me angry and miserable and furious. I took a vow to destroy my enemies, the object of my utmost bile. And I almost did it. I would have done it. But I realized, sadly, that I was everything that I hated. I was my own worst enemy. I was him who was in my own way. The beast, the monster, the fool, but I did it. I scraped up the courage from the dregs of my conscience and I killed him. Well, the him who was me when I didn't know that I am now. Standing here, begging to be seen, to be felt, to be. Acknowledge me. Are you all blind or am I invisible? I stand before you, more than mere words, as somebody who feels the unforgiven burden of being unforgiven, stumbling beneath the weight of guilt for the atrocities I've birthed with ignorant intentions, with the sinfully sinister bliss of a monster begging for redemption. I'm not visible. See me, hear me, feel me, please, or are you all blind? I wrote that in 2013. Mostly, I don't even know if y'all were born then, but no, I wrote that in 2013. My transformation from that person to this person began in 2012. Actually, it began in 2010. My father, so again, I'm trying not to, I'm gonna hold it together. So my relationship with my father was always rocky. And I'm not gonna go into that. I talked to Terry enough about that. But my relationship with my father was really rocky. And in 2005-ish, while I was in prison, there was an opportunity for us to meet, to talk, and sit down and really just hash things out. And we did that. We went to the visit room and laced up the gloves, and we went at it. And we found some middle ground. And that led to a 5-year journey between 2005 and 2010 where we got to a place where we could actually see eye to eye. And he told me he loved me for the first time. And I actually believed it. You know what I mean? That's what that was. Like, we really fought to get back to where we're supposed to be as father and son. And unexpectedly in 2010, he was diagnosed with cancer. And he started off with lung cancer, somehow went to brain cancer. And I remember it was January 2010, I was called to the office in prison. And that's never a good thing when you're called to the office. You already know what that is, so you try to prepare yourself. And the only thing I thought about as I walked to the office was, I just hope that it's not my mother. Please don't let it be my mother. It could be anything else. Just don't be my mother. And when I got there, it was my mother. But not the bad news. She was the one that made the call, and she was telling me that my father had 30 days to live. And I remember feeling how unfair that was. Like, we just got back together. We just mended the fences and hugged, and he just told me he loved me, and I believed that. And now he has 30 days to live. How do I process that? And I didn't process it right. And I ended up in a hole. And so I was in the hole in handcuffs, and he wrote me this letter. And he had brain cancer, and it was already at the end stages. So the letter he wrote, obviously somebody wrote for him, because it was as if a 3-year-old wrote it. But the only thing he could muster was his name and my name, and that meant the world to me. And so, before I got the news that he actually passed, he passed on March 15th. My birthday is March 18th. He passed on March 15th, but before I got the news that he passed away, I had the opportunity to replay a lot in my head. And I used to ask myself, like, what is my legacy? Like, what is my father's final thoughts of his son, his youngest son? Still in prison, still messing up, still serving a life sentence. Those are his final thoughts. And that meant something to me. So I said, I have to change my legacy. I have to change the narrative. I can't wait for somebody else to change it. I have to change it. And that was the transformation. That was the spark that led to so many different pathways. And so I wrote this after that transformation. I wrote that while I was still in that transformation. And I couldn't see it. I couldn't see why people didn't see the change in me. And that's why I said, are you all blind or is it me? Thank you for that. All right, so the next ones I'm gonna read to you are things I've written in the last few weeks. I'm gonna do my very best to get through them. They're not as heavy as the previous ones, but these mean a lot to me. So bear with me, please. This one is called A Caged Bird. And this caged bird, so I'm sure you're all familiar with Maya Angelou, and she wrote this wonderful book, an autobiography about her upbringing, her childhood and adolescent experiences with racism and poverty. It was called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And that always registered with me when I was in prison, because I used to ponder that. Like, I wonder why a caged bird sings. Like, I'm in a cage. The last thing I want to do is sing. But as I went on, and you know, she's a hero of mine, so I read a lot of her books. And so recently I wrote my own version to that. It's kind of my homage to Maya Angelou. I know why the caged bird sings, why the enraged bird screams, why the deranged bird fears its dreams, claws at the walls, bangs its head in vain to deaden the pain, even when it seems that at its evermost extreme, silence can be the catalyst of the scariest of things. Yeah, I know why the caged bird sings. Silence is dark. It's thick. It's viscous. It saturates. Silence is smothering. It's claustrophobic. It suffocates. It's that moment right after the last breath is taken. Just as the wane of imagination evaporates, silence is the mind's final contemplation. So yeah, I know why the caged bird sings. Silence is the purest bliss, like ignorance to common sense. It's a peace where conflict dare not tread, where sublime meets intangible, where understanding comprehends what is yet to be said. It's the weight and the balance between that look, and that kiss, and that touch. It's the awkward pause after miscommunications, hints and mixed messages missed by that much. It's as faint as a whisper in the wind. It's held hands and long hugs. It's the contemplation of a healing heart just as love begins. Yeah, I know why the caged bird sings. Because silence is violent. The kind of violence that brings calm to chaos. That sliver of space between each beat of the war drum before a prison riot is piercing and invasive. And it penetrates the most basic nature of all things living, unforgiving. Silence is unrelenting. It's reverberating taunt. It's the echoes of irreconcilable memories, the haunt of slamming electric doors and painted windows. And yeah, silence is penitent. It's a loss for words. It's green pastures and still waters. It's that small voice in a gentle breeze, that solace where vulnerability is the only prerequisite to enter. It's everything that prison is not. See, punishment is not silent. Torture and emotional abuse are not silent. The juvenile deemed delinquent who has to fight daily against a sadistic step-parent and god-awful guardian who is by proxy the juvenile injustice system, yes, that mistreatment and dysfunction is not silent. Gladiator fights between gang rivals for entertainment is not silent. The psychological drama, the isolation and trauma, the audacity that one must have to believe that he or she can escape the cage unscathed, that audacity is more Osama than it is Obama. But even that is not silent. So I know why the caged bird sings. Silence is safety. It's refuge. It's serene. It's the color of water in the Sahara. It's the embrace of acceptance. It's rest. It's freeing. Silence is the sensation of just being. Silence is final. A lot of my prison confinement, 10,521 days, paid on consignment for an adolescent decision. A lot of that time in prison was solitary. From the age of 16 to 45-ish, a lot of my silence was involuntary. So although the caged bird sings to manage its sanity, the caged bird also writes. That was a lot. Thank you. I know. That was a lot. All right. Okay, so this one right here, I wrote this recently. I wrote this kind of like a challenge to myself. I'm not going to tell you the title. I want you to pay attention. I'm asking that you pay attention. I'm not going to demand it. I'm asking that you pay attention. Because there'll be a quiz at the end. But no, pay attention, please, because I use a lot of play on words. I want to paint a picture that can be perceived one way or another. And I want to just see if we're all on the same accord. All right, cool? All right. It was equal parts fear of the unknown and excited anticipation. I was aware that my steps were measured by everyone who knew my situation. Eye contact was minimal. Whether grimace or grin, the intention was subliminal. Fumbled handshakes and awkward hugs met with nonchalant shrugs from the elemental criminal. But I was just trying to beeline from where I was to where I wasn't. Neither here nor there. The brain overstands what the heart doesn't. I was super self-conscious, uber confident, and obstinate. Unwilling to forfeit the core values that may survive in most consummate. My first night was sleepless, too many recollected suggestions. Funny thing about people, they either offer too many unsolicited solutions or far too many questions. There were too many sounds with too many calculations, too many's, like limits to the infinite equations. I laid there and I prayed there. This night that would furthermore be like none other. The realization that it would be an eternity before I could see my mother. Before I could drive to a Walmart or redefine what being free means to me. I was a functional adult driven by the dysfunctional results of untreated trauma and antisocial beliefs. I was unhealed. My damages not concealed. My perfected skill was decided when and to whom I would reveal that, in truth, I was afraid. Not timid, not scary, certainly not a coward. Afraid that if I had to relinquish my power, the very milk of my magnificence was sour. And I would then become a parody, a thing to be watched, a thing to be mocked, a thing to be dissected and displayed, perceptual disparity. So I ask you, to those of you whose perception is a bit askew, was I describing my first day in prison or my first day being free? Or did it all just go right past you? That was called the first of many days. And I think I gave you the answer at the end. So whatever you said was right. All right. This one right here, this next one, this last one. This one right here is called Just Be. And again, when I write, I challenge myself. I try to do things that I haven't done before or doing something I've done before in a different way. But everything I write, or at least I try to, every line that I write, it has to be succeeded by something greater than the previous. If you understand what I'm saying. Like if I write a line, I want the next line to just be more impactful, more profound than the previous. And so that's what this is about. And as I wrote Just Be, it was a journey, it was an introspective journey of myself that morphed into something greater. All right, so bear with me, please. B was 16 when he was arrested for the crime. He didn't do everything they said he did, but he was definitely going to do every tick of that time. He really didn't understand it all. Mama told him, baby, you just keep your faith. She wasn't religious, not by the best of odds, but after his arraignment, what else could she say? He had been charged, convicted, and then committed to prison. It's funny, though, because through the whole trial, he didn't understand nothing but the decision. From juvenile facilities to Corcoran prison gladiator fights. And I'm talking about 95, 96 Corcoran. 14 days, 10 organized fights. Months became years which soon morphed into spans. Reality became surreal. Futility was a constant mocking. But anger was live and on demand. Because B was still that boy inside who felt hollow and transparent. He was 25, 26, nearly 30 years old. His own poor self-image, his insecurities, those had merit. B was a dilettante in dystopia. He was the concrete that bore the rose. And though his yesterdays were a mess, his tomorrows were too bleak and dismal to juxtapose. So B committed himself to the corrosion and fuckery that was prison politics. He was a gangster. He was militant to the strictest measure. A revolutionary with acknowledgement. B was rebirthed and rewired by Sun Tzu, Franz Fanon, Karl Marx. Adamant in his academics, he was an activist, always on start. B was Bobby Seale, Huey P., and George Jack, all heart. He was blood red bandanas and stiff gang fingers. B was all spark. He was a wolf in giraffe skin, a giraffe pattern map of Africa beneath black skin. B was Hannibal and Sin-Q, the makeup of madmen. In his heart, he was a Sermon on the Mount. But in his mind, he was Allahu Akbar in the masjid. See, B had been taught to find comprehension in the void, to calculate and measure the abyss, to separate the notion from the noise. And though B had long since detached from any vestiges of hope, he managed to imagine a passage several echelons above average, 3,800 meters through a scope. What is imagination without hope? A supervillain has to first convince himself that his purpose is valid. B had to validate his purpose, believe that his ballast was his worth, that his birth was not callous, that his God don't make mistakes, that his odds were not misplaced. B faced any opposition with the conviction that it was death before disgrace. And though there were times when B saw himself merely as a grasshopper beneath the glare of Goliath, B still fought giants. B still managed to triumph because in truth, it was B who was the designer of his own defiance. Praise be to God, B gave space to be enlightened and transformed. B allowed himself grace to ponder those lingering contemplations, giving way as plans formed. He demoed obstacles, bridging gaps. He catapulted over walls as if optional. B straightened his crown and cracked his knuckles. His politics are doctrinal, like Caleb and Joshua. So in the essence of all things that are perpetual and light, that are benevolent and bright, those things that are often misunderstood and miscommunicated, like love and respect, in the essence of those things that feel good and feel right, I say, just be. Just breathe. Just believe. Just begin. Just bask in the victory of this now over that then. Back when you dared not picture of this now, because that then was the worst you'd ever suffered and the lowest you'd ever kowtowed to. That then was the sickest and the weakest of demons that you bow down to. This now is who we howl now to. We're all pawns, set a quest to traverse the battlefield of chess. Your potential is yours only to claim. Always do your best. And always move with zest, because all's left is just you and just me. Don't blend in, be different, be unique, but at the barest minimum, just be. Thank you. Okay, I don't even know what to do next. Trey, you coming up here?
No. I just okay. I'm waiting for you to come down and say thank you. That's all, bro. Because you can tell the end of that one. That was some poems you can't tell when the end comes, and you wait, you know when the class. But that one you can tell. That's why I said as soon as you said it.
Thank you,
like,
bro. Thank you. No doubt. Yeah. So, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you all showing up. Usually we do a Q&A. I don't know if y'all want to do a Q&A or not. I'm kind of nervous now after the fact. But nevertheless, I really appreciate you all showing up. This means a lot to me. I'm sure it means a lot to Trey and Pharaoh. We're going to continue our tour. We're going to continue to hit every venue that'll have us. We're going to Medicine for Nightmares next Saturday. We're going to Medicine for Nightmares Saturday in the Mission District on 24th and Mission. In January 26th, we were invited to Stanford University. We're going to be on a bill with Hanif Abdul Rakib, who's an internationally known poet. And it's just an honor to be invited. It's an honor to show up and show out in front of prestigious people such as yourselves. But I mean, as I said, like, we're on this tour and things are just opening. Things are just happening. We're forced into greatness. None of this was planned. None of this was anticipated. But we're here. We're stepping up and accepting the challenge. Also, personally speaking, there's a podcast. I know you all love podcasts. We all love podcasts. I have a podcast coming out called The 3rd Bridge. And what The 3rd Bridge is about is dismantling the stigma behind trauma and seeking therapy. So long-term offenders such as myself, such as the gentleman that spoke up here tonight, while we were in prison, therapy wasn't readily available. You know, they'll shove meds at you quickly. They'll give you meds all day. But there's no substance behind that. There's no way to talk out your problems or even identify your problems. So a lot of the traumas that we suffered as children only exacerbate when we come into prison, and they become significantly worse, and they morph into so many different things. And then we end up out here in society amongst you all, and we're really just trying to hold it together. So therapy is key for me. And in having a great organic conversation with a good friend of mine, Dwight Jones, who I spoke about earlier, he had the idea, why don't we have a podcast? Why isn't there not a podcast for people like us that talks about therapy? And I said, well, that would be dope if there was a podcast with somebody like us hosting alongside somebody who can identify those things. And The 3rd Bridge was born. So it's coming to a platform near you, YouTube, Facebook, the whole two. I don't know all that yet. But we have a website. It's called th3rdbridge.com, th3rd bridge.com. Tap in, see what we can do. Maybe, and it's not just for long-term offenders, not for previous incarcerated, it's for combat veterans, it's for ER nurses, it's for people who walk down the street and get chased by big dogs. It's whatever. We all suffer from trauma in some way, and if it's left untreated, it comes out in different ways, and we get to talking to cars and barking at trees and all this stuff, and you know, they label us. So let's prevent that. Let's get therapy. Let's tap into my podcast, hear what I got to say, hear some more poetry. Some of these guys will be guests. Some of you might be guests. So I look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you so much. My book is here. Interested is $20. If not, I'll gladly accept a handshake and a hug. But no, thank you.
Thank you all. Hang around. Run up. Talk to you guys.
You can have one of these if you like. One of the articles that I wrote. You can have one of the articles.
Thank you.
When I first came home, I'll be back. I'll be back for the concert and everything, dude. Yeah. And I play a little bit. I have a lot of musician friends. So,
Great.
Yeah. No. Thank you so much.
I hardly ever read I read them all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, he spoke.
Did you get both of them? It's two different articles. Yeah, it's two different ones. It's one part 1, part 2. I can't find the link for part 3. It's just in the archives. I can't find them in Xavier.
Send us PDFs of that thing.
Okay. All right. Hey. Yeah. Okay.
Spare, I'll buy them all.
Really?
I do not. Right? You do not. So we're sitting on 5.
Oh yeah. And what I'll do is I'll brief you.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Okay. That's what you said. That's a good price.
Yeah.
Good price.
Thank you. Amazing, huh? Really amazing. All those words.
I know this heat.
Okay, so I will look for your book when it comes out.
Yes.
You've got to do it. There used to be a bucket list of donations. I never seen this.
Actually, I have people that I just found out about 2 days ago that really needs it. My one friend, she still believes her brother who came out of prison, and if she had told enough people, he wouldn't have gotten shot by his hope. And but anyway, and I sent her this, but she thanked me. Anyway, I'm jabbering. No, I'm not jabbering. I'm verbally processing.
Susan.
My name is Susan, and I.